Welcome to Dave and Nick from Whisky and Things podcast. It's lovely to have you, my friends. How are you?
Very well, thank
Hello.
you. Feels like forever since we've spoken.
Well, yeah, it does, doesn't it? We must stop meeting like this.
Every Sunday now, every Sunday. Yeah, it's like it's like going to church.
Yeah, how's the podcasts going? Have they been received well? Not just ours.
This week's numbers have been awful, Dave, haven't they? Don't know, the guests we had on last week. Been shocking, absolutely shocking.
Hang on, I think I've got something in my pocket.
We need to get Jeff Whiskey back on to get the numbers.
Oh, that's hilarious.
No, we've had a good week. Thank you very much. It has been a good week.
Yeah. Excellent. So to everyone who is watching and listening on the replay, introduce yourselves a little, because not everyone might know who you are. I'm sure, even though you are as famous as you are, there's got to be some people out there who don't know who you are. So just explain a little bit as to who you are and what you do.
Nick's older, so you can go first.
Okay. I'm Nick Kent. I'm co-master host of Whisky and Things, the podcast. Yeah. Well, I play a bit of music as well on the side. On the side now, and that's how I actually earn my living. But
you don't stand up anymore, you do all on the side.
Yeah. I'm sitting down today. It's been nice.
That's
quite
a
bit of a chill out. Yeah. So there we go. I'm Nick.
Awesome.
Hello.
And Dave.
Hello, I'm Dave, and I like whiskey.
That's a good start.
I'm a singer-songwriter. Been a musician. Actually, so yeah, Nick and I met back in 18 years ago. Next week, or like next month, kind of thing.
That's a whole legal drinker ago.
Yeah, half my life, Nick. Half my life as a 36-year-old. We went to music school together, and it was our induction week. And we went to there was a jam night at the end, or a gig. It was just a gig, wasn't it? It was a gig. Some of the teachers were playing at a bar, and Nick and I leaned my guitar and his bass guitar leant against the same post that night, and that was how we met.
Yes, all of us will put our basses and guitars in a corner, so we didn't have to worry about them. So we were looking after each other's instruments, so we could go and have drinks and stuff. So that's how we kind of met, wasn't it?
And was it love at first sight, or?
He looked like He-Man, so for me it definitely was.
I looked a bit like I did a couple of weeks ago.
Did you know there was going to be a bright future for both of you?
I probably
in whiskey, not in music.
She's still over there.
It's okay. They just do commute themselves.
Take care.
Thank
you, everyone.
Hello, everyone has just joined.
Hi, Richard. Can you just mute yourself, mate? That's it. Beautiful. Thank you. Right. So you've met through music. So how did all the kind of how soon after that were you podcasting? Because you started with YouTube originally, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that started in 2014. So that's way after we even finished university.
Right.
So I had
university. Was it 2007?
Yeah, it was 2007. I found you have Facebook memories. A couple of weeks back, there was a Facebook memory where it was like I was tagged, and Nick had put, just had a business meeting with Dave. This was from September 2013. We just planned how we're going to take over the world using whiskey and licking people's faces.
So you have always, like, whiskey has been a main part, hasn't it, from the start? It's not like it hasn't come around recently.
No, yeah. So the story of it is, right, so Nick was off being a musician. Nick's very understated and won't necessarily tell you everything that he's done. It will come out in conversation, and I give him loads of grief about it because he doesn't do it very often. But Nick has done a lot of very cool stuff. So he was in a punk band that did the Warped Tour, toured the US 3 or 4 years in a row. 4 years in a row, Nick, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he supported Alice Cooper and No Effects, like some pretty big deal things that he was off doing, right? So, and then as a result of that, he got a US visa for a few years and ended up living in Los Angeles, as you do, and met this guy called Chris. Yeah, well, still, I don't care. I don't care. It's rock and roll. I think that makes it more rock and roll, if anything, Nick. With this guy called Chris, who was a massive Jameson's drinker. That's an understatement, I think, isn't it, Nick?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I had so much Jameson with him because we wouldn't sip it like, oh, this is a lovely Irish tipple. It was shoot this now and and chase it with this Diet Dr. Pepper. Oh, right, you finished that one? Right, shoot this one. So there was actually a period after. There was about a year, 2 years, maybe 3 that I couldn't drink Jameson at all. But please continue, Dave. Chris was the reason why we kind of developed a taste or not a taste for Jameson.
So I'm going to fast forward now to 2012 when Nick was back in the UK. And there's a singer-songwriter called Frank Turner, who some of you may have heard of. And Chris was kind of instrumental in him getting signed in the US because Chris works in the music industry as well. And Frank was playing at Wembley Arena in April 2012. And Chris was invited to come over because that was a big deal for Frank. It was like his first big headline arena show. So Chris wanted to come over and do that. And Nick said, "Oh, come and crash at ours." So Nick and I didn't live together. I live around the corner. But Nick had just started a job, which meant he wasn't necessarily going to be around much during the day. Fortunately, I live around the corner, and Nick said, "Oh, you'll finally get to meet Chris." Now, Chris and I had met like when Nick and I were FaceTiming when he was living in LA and stuff like that, but that was it. Now, I knew that Chris loved whiskey, so I had from January until April to start trying to like whiskey. Because I'd never, Jack Daniels and Coke aside, I'd not really ever had it. So I was going down to our local Wetherspoons when we were having our weekly catch-up with our friends and ordering like a Glenfiddich 12 or anything like that. And I was like, I'll start with the good stuff. That's what I remember thinking, the Glenfiddich 12. I'll start with the good stuff and work my way back to Jameson's. Yeah. And essentially Chris came over and we spent a week drinking Jameson's exactly as Nick described. It was literally, so the round ended up being a Jaeger bomb and a double Jameson's each. And you would neck the Jameson's and the Jaeger bomb was the chaser that you sipped on. That was the story of our week.
Much.
Yeah. So you don't want to talk about it, Nick. You just can't remember it.
Oh man, it was hardcore. Nick was working. Nick had just got a job taking photos for Foxtons, and this is why he hates estate agents. Sorry if there's any estate agents here. And so it was like his first week at work. So Nick was having these big nights out and then going in the next morning, but he was leaving a little bit earlier, but we'd get home before him because Nick would have fallen asleep on 4 or 5 night buses to get home. Kept missing the stop. Yeah. So it was like halfway through that week, I said, and what we do, at the end of the night, Chris and I would go to a fried chicken shop and I had this thing I used to do when I was younger where I'd go into a chicken shop late at night and say, "I've got £5. Give me everything you got." And it was a kind of a challenge to see how much chicken I could get out of them for £5. Because at the end of the night, they were only going to throw it away. And this became a thing. So we ended up making a joke that I was gonna write a song, and I was just in the process of doing my first album. I was gonna write a song, and it was gonna be called Whisky and Wings, and it was gonna be the story of this week of us getting drunk. And eating far too many chicken wings, yeah, and that's why when Nick suggested, so then fast forward a year, and it was 2013, and Nick was setting up his video stuff, and he said that he wanted to have a weekly formatted show, which would push him on in terms of. You might explain this better than me, Nick, but in terms of having something to do to make him edit things and learning how to edit and all that kind of stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Wanted to learn how to edit video, essentially, and having a weekly show to do meant I had to do it and I had to get better. But we also had this slogan as well, where it was like,
Oh yeah.
we wanted to live more, and it was like, Dave, we don't live enough. So it was like the yes man. It was like, let's do this. We don't live enough, Dave. Coming out this weekend, we don't live enough. So that kind of became the thing behind the show.
Yeah.
But yeah,
did that ever get you into trouble? Well. That way of thinking ever get you into trouble?
Absolutely. Absolutely, but this is being recorded, so no.
Maybe in the chat.
So what then happened is in 2014, every single week, Nick and I would sit down and on my old sofa in the next room, drink a whiskey, which we wouldn't. Sorry about that. My computer decided.
That's it. Was that one of your musical effects?
Yeah. Anyway, we drink a whiskey and just talk about what we've been up to that life. And the whiskey was a very small part of it. And because of the Whisky and Wings song, we decided to call it Whisky and Things.
Okay.
And
cool.
So
that song is the theme tune as well.
It's the theme tune.
Which you hear, that's Whisky and Wings.
So that's where it all came from. And they're still all online, all these videos of us just trying a different whiskey every week, but not really. We weren't doing tasting notes. By the end, we were jokingly doing a few tasting notes, but it was predominantly us.
Well, it's funny because you're wearing that. Yeah, you're wearing that. Are you wearing a Wayne's World hat?
Yeah, intentionally, Nick. Yeah. Intentionally.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yes, it was Wayne's World with whiskey, and it wasn't like, and everything was like. Didn't matter what the whiskey was, it was ice. Yep, sure, everything was ice. I think the first thing we had was, I think Bal Blair was our first.
Bal Blair, which was actually, it was
didn't know what Christmas it was.
Present. Yeah. We didn't have a clue what we were drinking, and just was
ice. Yes, certainly, yes.
Yeah. Certainly, loads of ice. Oh yeah, like we didn't have a palate. And by the end of the year, we had actually tried a few different whiskies. We still didn't know much about it or the process. Nick had been to the Jameson's distillery in Ireland as part of that year, which was very amusing, only because he missed the ferry when we were on tour, which I'd booked for him, and he was supposed to get home, and he missed it because he got drunk the night before after a gig. I'm in Cork. What should I do? I'll go to Middleton. Oh, amazing.
No. It wasn't like that. The night before, I hadn't kind of planned how far the dock was from Cork. I thought it was like up the road or like 15 minutes, but it was like 45 minutes or an hour away. And obviously we got up too late, missed it. We were racing in the van to try and maybe get something while Danny Gruff, who was with a friend of ours, was kind of rebooking it, as it were. And the moment he said, okay, thank you very much, we'll be on that one, click, we saw the sign for Middleton, for the distillery. It was as if it was like written in the stars. It's fantastic. And we were there, it was like, we got there like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Before it even opened.
Yeah.
Knocking on the door.
Yeah. So we did the tour instead of... Yeah, exactly. We did the tour straight off and then had time to sober up from what we did the tasting and stuff to then go get the ferry in the evening. It was fantastic. And I didn't tell Dave until I was filming it for the show, and I didn't tell Dave until... Well, he didn't see it until the show came out. I kept it a complete secret, and then shot a reaction video of him watching it because it had already gone out.
He'd done this montage. He did this one. He just told me, "Oh, can you just film yourself doing this?" And he did. So I did. I didn't know what it was
taking
for.
a phone call from me.
You just do everything he says, though.
Sorry.
You just do everything he says.
At that point, I did because
his face, do this, do that.
No.
He still does.
Seriously, at that point, I really did, because he was essentially doing a hell of a lot of work, and he was editing an hour. No, well, it was about 20-minute to half-hour show every week, and doing a lot of editing.
It started at 5 minutes, and then just went up to 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, and he was doing these quite elaborate drop-ins and montage sequences and all that kind of stuff. So if he phoned me up and said, can you quickly do this? I would very quickly. Yeah, of course. But I wouldn't know what he was doing until he uploaded it and I had to do the annotations or the show note. And I would sit there pissing myself laughter because I was once again the butt of the joke. But Yeah, it was good fun. And but so basically, we did 50 episodes of that in 2014, and the last 5 we named after the whiskies we were drinking, or the last 10 or something like that. And we were getting comments by people going, "You call yourself whiskey experts?" No, we don't. We definitely don't. But they were very
talk
much
about the whiskey.
Yeah. I'm here for the whiskey. What's all this nonsense you're talking about? Anyway, we knocked it on the head, having had a really good. It's a document of what we did that year, and there was a lot of cool stuff. I toured Australia and New Zealand, a couple of big tours. We did a tour together. It was good fun. So, but as a result of that year, we started drinking whiskey more and actually appreciating it and understanding it, and that was the start. And one of the guys who used to watch that show kept saying to us, "You two should do a podcast. You two should do a podcast."
That kind of leads me into the next question, because it was like going from YouTube to podcasting and then choosing obviously whiskey as the main topic. Was that a hard decision to kind of, dedicating your kind of show just to whiskey, which is something you'd only dabbled in previously? Was that a hard decision? Yeah, because then you got to almost with podcasts, you got to get guests on as well, haven't you? Because you want to flesh it out with people, so you've always got the stress of getting new people on and this and that. Was it like a hard transition?
Well, that's how it started, actually. It was half and half, whiskey and, say, a musical guest or someone from media or a sports person or something like that. So it started. There's a good 25 episodes before we went to straight just whiskey.
Just whiskey.
Because I know I was finding it hard. Because not only researching the whiskey every week, but also...
Oh, God's sake, stop it. Sorry, that's my computer again. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, that's what I just... Sorry, that's what I do when we're doing podcasts. Yeah, I just to annoy Nick, sometimes I just like interrupting him with one word over and over again, so I just loop it round and round.
So you feel you've got into the groove of doing the whiskies every time now? That's your passion?
I think so.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to go full on into it myself. I kind of because at the beginning when we decided to do it, I was researching every week. I just wanted everything to be at least factually correct what we were talking about. Yeah, so I'd make sure I'd do a load of research and stuff. But then with the kind of musical guests and stuff as well, there was something else to research as well. So because I'm not media trained, Dave's done a lot more kind of interviews. He's not media trained either, but he's very good at holding conversation and chatting to people and stuff. And he's been on BBC Radio and all kinds of stuff, like 5 Live and all that kind of thing. But I've never been good at the kind of interviewing people and stuff. That's taken that's been a bit of a learning curve, as it were. But it got to a point where I just kind of needed it to just be whiskey, I think. But
and practice makes,
and as well, maybe for and the weeks are sort of rolling over so quick now, as well. And I feel like I've learned so much from researching all the whiskies every week and all that kind of stuff. Because it was never we're experts, listen to us for whiskey advice. It was, this is us. We kind of know nothing, but we're learning. Come with us, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you come across any unexpected hurdles coming into podcasting and things like that? Was there anything that I suppose, was the kit that you use now similar to what you used back then, or has it changed over the years?
Well, that's quite amusing because the audio on our video was awful. Like if you look at the old videos, it was because we were just using whatever mic was on the camera, or there was one tiny mic pointing towards both of us.
We had a single Rode mic in the middle on the footstool.
So we sound distant, and compared to this, it's completely different.
I think we wanted it to sound nice from the off on this, didn't we, Dave? So we made sure we got the right mics, and a friend of ours helped us with the production side to make it sound, he wanted radio, it to sound like Howard Stern. Kind of thing, nice and rich, and make it sound nice. And we had like a load of stings and stuff, because obviously we had stuff Dave had recorded and stuff I'd done. So the stings are stuff we've recorded over the years. So it at least sounded nice and was factually correct. Right, now let's learn about whiskey. So that's kind of how it was.
So you're telling me that Dave, it's all down to the microphone that makes Dave's voice sound so sexy, yeah? Just,
Yes.
quality of microphone.
Absolutely.
No one has ever described my voice as sexy. I appreciate that. An Essex accent in the Midlands is sexy, apparently. Who knew? Who knew?
It's better than
Dave?
It's better than a
I should have gone there for university. Damn, I would have cleaned up. It's like you in LA, Nicholas.
That's why I moved to Manchester. I thought my voice was going to be sexy.
So if you were going back to the guests, is there any guests that you haven't had on whiskey or music, I suppose, that you like dream guests that you think you probably could land, but you just haven't been able to yet, or you just haven't reached out yet? Whiskey world or music?
I'd love to have... Dave, you go on? I'll go.
I don't know.
You go.
You go.
I'd love to have Matt Berry on.
Okay. For what reason?
Matt Berry of... Am I delayed? IT crowd, because he has that classic line, which we've not ripped off, but a friend of mine did kind of an impression of, where he goes, "The whiskey!" That kind of thing, which is from his show Snuff Box, I think it is.
Right.
But yeah, he's a fan of whiskey, and I'm a massive fan of him and his shows and stuff. So I'd love to have Matt Berry on at some point. Just not include that sting in that show in case.
Get him to record it for you.
Jeff has just told us that in the chat that he does adverts for Bell's Whiskey. So maybe we shouldn't get him on.
There you go.
I'm not a snob or anything, but maybe not.
Is he really? I haven't seen any of this.
Yeah. Something to research.
Oh.
What about you, Dave? Have you got anyone?
Not really.
No, just get anyone on you can.
Yeah, I mean,
once you've had Jeff on, you can't really go anywhere.
I mean, that's part of the issue, isn't it? You know, where do you go when you've had Jeff Whiskey? Exactly.
Yeah. The only way it's down, isn't it? That's why you had us on straight after.
Yeah.
There are plenty of musicians that I would still like to get on who have a relationship with whiskey, and get them on to talk more about that side of what they do. Right? Because at the start, when we had musicians on, it was kind of a general chat, and there might be a bit of whiskey involved.
Yeah.
So there are certain things like that which I'd like to do. It kind of feels like a little bit of an issue with that in my head, though, just in terms of, I don't know. I don't know whether you're encouraging a certain behaviour within a stereotype within the music industry, which some people perhaps don't want to show off. But there's ways of doing it. But yeah, I mean that's I don't know. I'm probably overthinking that. Yeah, all my dream interviews have got me other podcasts for, so that's fine anyway.
And which one's that on, mate? You want to plug it while you're here?
Yeah, so if you like Spaceflight, I've got a space podcast as well, and we interview all kinds of people with that. And that was crazy. Sitting here, I got to interview Fred Hayes, the Apollo 13 astronaut, a couple of months ago, which was fucking nuts.
Yeah, how did you go about getting him on?
Well, my co-host, who I managed to steal, managed to get her to want to do a podcast with me somehow. It's really loud, Nick. That's really loud. Whoa! You scared the crap out of me there. Yeah. Oh my god! I'm like, whoa, where's that going? I was like, what's my computer done now?
Are you bored, Nick? Have you heard this story before?
That was Nick.
No, that was my boring story music.
Yeah, that was. Yes, Nick using one of my old songs, which he does quite regularly, to say, "Oh, shut him up."
Well, we want to delve into a bit more of your whiskey past, but being as we've been talking about music, you got a song you can play for us?
I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll play the song "Whiskey and Wings" because we talked about it.
Go on then.
Which
then we'll come back and talk about your whiskies, your whiskey journey a bit more.
All right. Nick.
How long ago was this written?
You're going to stop after every line and explain it. Huh?
I mean, if you want me to, Nick, I'll do that.
He'll be playing his boring story song again.
I don't mind. It's not. I've heard it a million times. I was there, man. I was there.
Falling asleep on the bus. This was written in 2012. Reverb! I guess there's a point when you just have to get away, when you're too tired to see that all your colours turn grey. I knew I was there and I turned into a beast. I'd even had road rage concern innocent priest. Well, I think they were innocent, but you never know with priests. Sorry, Rich, I know he's a reverend, sorry. So I called Nick and he said, Chris is here from LA. Let's have a week of booze and banter and hey! I know we're both broke, but it's time for a binge. We don't live enough, let's live on whiskey and wings. Who needs love when you have friends like these boys? Who needs love when you have friends like these boys? So we headed to Camden and we watched a few shows, made some new friends and the whiskey did flow. The bar staff knew our names, we'd been in there a week. We drank Jaeger bombs when Nick got too tried to speak, and he tried to get home too drunk to speak. I get the words wrong, that was bad, wasn't it? And he tried to get home but fall asleep on the bus while Chris and I powered on. There was no stopping us. We met a couple of girls. They were as cute as can be. They didn't put out, but that won't bothering me. Cause who needs love when you have friends like these boys? Who needs love when you have friends like these boys? Brian, I'll read you. This is the sad verse. It's really important when you write a song like this that you also have a sad verse. Get some emotional depth within the song. That was the intention anyway. When the bars all kicked out, I told you it was sad. When the bars all kicked out, I can't do it. I just can't do it. When the bars all kicked out, we'd find a fried chicken shop. So I'll give you a $5 and we'll take the lot. Get home about 5, be awake around 10. I'd wait for the call to start all over again. Now it weren't good for my health, but it was great for my soul. I was running on empty, now I'm raring to go. So next time that I'm weak, and even tea makes me whinge, I'll gather my friends for some whiskey and wings. Who needs love when you have friends like these boys? Who needs love when you have friends like these boys? Who needs love, love, love when you can go and have a drink with your friends? Who needs love, love, love? I know that they'll be with me to the end. Who needs love, love, love? You know I never understood girls anyway. Who needs love, love, love? Yes, Jeff. Just grab a whiskey and call your friends up any day.
That's a story in a song, isn't it?
Well, that was the idea. Back then, that was kind of what I did. I just used to write whatever was going on in my life.
Yeah,
those were the days, weren't they, Dave?
Yeah, don't write like that anymore.
So what do you write like now? How's it changed?
I'm not so direct.
All right.
I mean, I think it's fair to say that song's quite on the nose.
It doesn't leave much to the imagination of what you're trying to say, does it?
No. I definitely used to call a box, that's for sure.
Then they said he's just thrown a virtual pair of panties at you.
Oh dear.
And even knowing men, they're probably still dirty, even though they're virtual.
I like the dirty ones. What?
Okay, so guys, onto your whiskey now then. So are you drinking anything tonight, or are you on the water or tea, or what we got going on?
I've just finished in the warm up, and I've just been doing some Eagle Rare, which I'm really enjoying
Oh, I love Eagle Rare
at the moment. But I finished that, so now I've just poured a glass of Maker's Mark 46, which is another one of my favourite bourbons.
Yeah.
I do love a bourbon.
I was going to say, yeah.
So
Do you have
yeah,
cocktails at all? Do you drink like old fashions and stuff very often, or
I do like to make an old fashioned when the occasion, needs
when
it.
the mood takes you?
It's a bit of a time investment sometimes, but no.
and a breakfast mint julep.
Yeah, I'm done with, yeah. It's just having fresh mint in the house. It's tough sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you grow it on the windowsill, it either just gets massive and then dies, or you cut it all and then it dies. So it's
Yeah.
But
So-
there we go.
You mentioned, Nick, that you're a bit of a bourbon fan.
Mm.
Is that your favourite style of whiskey, or is it just what you're into at the moment?
It varies because, I think I've got into it a lot because from traveling the States a lot, I just like that. I don't know. I love the taste of it. I love the culture around it as well.
Yeah.
But I think as well, I'm going to call them economy bourbons to economy scotches. I think you get a nicer tasting bourbon for less than, or for the same price as you would like an economy scotch, as it were. So that's why I go for those. After that, once you hit 40 quid in a bourbon, you've pretty much got what I think is a great tasting bourbon. You don't need to spend any more, unless you're going for something like a Blanton's. But for that, you're kind of paying for the exclusivity of it being a single barrel and all that kind of stuff. But above that, is when the scotches get interesting, or the single malt American stuff, or the ryes get interesting for me. But in terms of I'm not going to say every day, but a more kind of
Say it. Just say every day. It's fine. We know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like an everyday bourbon drink, as it were.
No judgment here.
Then I go for a bourbon.
Cool. Awesome. Dave, what's your go-to?
Normally a bourbon, actually. Again, I think it was the process of what we did in 2014 when we didn't know what we were on about, and then discovering whiskey after that properly. And when I spent time in Nashville around American whiskey drinkers and just trying a load of good bourbon, that just made me really appreciate it. And as Nick said, it's just really drinkable. Like, you can go for a bottle of Bullet really easily, and that may not be a good thing, but it's not that expensive, and it's just accessible and easy. And you don't have to. I always think with bourbons, you don't have to be thinking, oh, what, like, you don't have to. I'm getting
analyze. Yeah,
you just drink it. It's a bit more like that. And but I think what Nick's analysis is really right. Some of the things we've had that have been more expensive in the Scotch world are just outrageous. So today I'm drinking one of Great Dram's the Tamdu.
Nice.
How old is this? I can't read it. It's in classic 8-year-old matured in a single sherry cask, and it's really nice. I don't know if anyone has tried much Great Dram stuff, so they're an indie bottler.
No, I haven't, to be honest. I haven't had much. I know of them, but I haven't had much from them, to be honest.
Yeah,
I recommend it.
Very, very much so. They don't put out a huge, like a lot of small indies. They're not putting out loads of stuff, but as a result, it's really well curated.
Yeah.
They're not putting out garbage because each different expression means a lot to them.
Yeah.
And they can't afford to get it wrong. And I think that, in terms of talking about whiskey journeys and where we've come from, doing the podcast, I didn't even know what an indie bottler was when we started the podcast.
Right.
And it was this time last year when we were at the, I think I'd heard of them, but I still didn't understand it. Was when we were at we did the virtual London whiskey show the whiskey exchange thing, that I suddenly understood what that was, because every day I was turning up. I didn't, Nick said, "I'll go to this thing, buy your ticket," and we went, and I opened this virtual window, and it had the videos and all of what was going on, and I couldn't decide what to click on, and there was one that just said tea, afternoon tea with the boutique whiskey people. I was like, I'll try that.
That's perfect stuff.
Yeah, it was a perfect. I loved my tea, so I was, and but I didn't know what boutique was. I didn't know anything about this, and so every day then, that was the start of my day. I'd log in for this week and got to know what boutique was, and then there was a quiz every day as well, which was run by Elixir, another indie bottler. So all the things I was bumping around at were all indie bottlers. And I was like, Nick, what, these indie bottlers? What's this all about? And then that really did start us going down a journey of trying all these things, I really love the fact that we have that in whiskey.
Yeah.
And even the likes of No Nonsense Whiskey, he's got his own bottles, and they're great, because I think people are on a small scale. The fact that you or I could do it if we really wanted to, and had the time and the more interestingly, the money.
Yeah, we get that stutter sorted out.
Oh yeah, I really do. It's a nightmare. Not. This is why it takes Nick so long to edit the podcast. Yeah, and my stutter.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
So we know what you like. What do you not like? Have you had anything that's really kind of
anything by Haig? Anything Haig?
Wow, Haig's got its place.
No, Haig can fuck right off.
Oh, there we go. I've got a balance for you on this show. Love it.
Sorry if I wasn't allowed to swear.
We need to dig into this a little bit more. Then where does this absolute
It's horrible. It's vile. It's not good stuff. It's all substance. Right. Basically, I have an issue with marketing. Right.
Okay.
And anything that over markets and doesn't deliver, I think, is a sham. And I think that's a big part of it. That when they got Beckham involved, who's probably never drunk a whiskey in his life, I'm just very cynical. And then to try it. And it was everywhere. There was a whiskey shop that used to be in the Westfield in Shepherd's Bush, which is just down the road from here, and the blue bottle was freaking everywhere. Like they made out as this was the best thing ever, and it was all because of Beckham and all this marketing campaign. So you would think, okay, that would be all right then, and then it just wasn't.
I fell into that trap, Dave. I went to the whiskey shop on, I think it was Bond Street or whatever, near Green Park. And I was like, I'm going to buy a bottle of whiskey. And the guy in there flogged me, this Haig Club. And I think then we had it on the show. It was 2014. And we said it smelled like PVA glue. It was not really, yes, we didn't like it at the time. And the Clubman's a bit nicer. Again, I think I don't know. You're going to have it it has its place. You're going to have it in cocktails and stuff. But
and it's great for sizing your wall before you plaster as well, I've heard, so.
Yeah. I mean, it may very well be unfair of me to be so harsh on it now, but I just thought it was all style over substance for me, and therefore, even if it's got a remote drinkability of any description within a cocktail or whatever, to me, just fuck off with your. Just if you're gonna spend that much money on marketing, make sure it's a good product. Otherwise, because I have the same issue. I make my living playing covers gigs, right? So the other day I was playing at this bar, and I was on first, and did 2 hours. As I finished, another guy was on there. And I stayed around to watch a few of his songs, just to see what he does and see what his style was. And one of the regulars in the bar said, "So, are you sticking around because there's some kind of competition between you?" And I was like, "No, there isn't a competition. He probably is better than me, but that's not the point. The issue is the reason I'm interested is because I like to know I'm doing a good job, and it's good to judge yourself against other people and so on and so forth. But if one person who plays in that bar isn't doing a good job, it lets us all down.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with any industry. Especially if someone is spending a load of money on marketing, and someone's first whiskey, as a result of Beckham being involved, was Haig. Like, what the hell? That's such a shame. That's such a shame that was their first whiskey.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you're going to spend all that money, why not do a Balvenie Caribbean cask, which may actually be something that can get people in and enjoy whiskey, rather than Haig, which is distinctly average, if an average may be generous in my...
So how many bottles of proper 12 have you got? Because that's just as equal for it.
That's the same. That is exactly the same. You're right. That's exactly the same. That is exactly the same.
And he doesn't even own his stake anymore, does he?
He sold it for a lot of money.
Did he?
A lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that, was it?
All the money. All the money.
Yeah.
Right,
he was always going to do that.
Yeah.
By contrast, my contrast to this story, which is a positive one, is I went to visit Chris in LA. I went back there a couple of years ago. And he picked me up from the airport. And Nick was in LA as well. We were all supposed to be getting there together and have a few days together out there. And Nick, the day I arrived, Nick was off camping with his other friends on Big Bear Mountain or wherever.
I do have more friends. It's just
outrageous. Outrageous. I was going all that way. We spent all that money and he wasn't even there. Anyway.
Do you not know who Dave is, Nick?
Exactly.
Yep.
Don't you? So he picked me up from the airport and said, right, I've got to keep you up until like midnight to beat jet lag because you're only there for 4 days or whatever. So it's like, look, it's my friend's 40th birthday to party tonight, so we're going to go to that. So got back, dropped the stuff at his. We went to the local pub round the corner, and had a few beers. Then we went to this 40th birthday party in the hills, and he said the words which I didn't want to hear. By the way, he's a tequila drinker. Oh no, because I don't have good experiences of tequila. I just don't. And get in there, and straight away these Americans, and they don't do small pours, do they? They do big.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you've got to try this one. This one's really good. So he pours me this glass of this tequila, and he's like, this is George Clooney's tequila company. And I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to be like Hey Club, isn't it? This is going to be awful. This is going to be like Beckham getting involved with Hey Club. And it was the nicest tequila I've ever had, and it was amazing. And suddenly I was like, what have I got wrong here? And I said, what is this? This doesn't taste like tequila. And then when I recorded in Nashville, I told this story to the bass player who's a tequila drinker, and he said, when you go to a bar, no, he knew I was a whiskey drinker. He said, what do you order when you order a tequila? It's like, tequila. It's like, well, what do you do when you order a whiskey? And I said, well, I choose my specific whiskey. He's like, exactly. When you order just a tequila, you get the shit. You get Bell's. Or you get Haig. There are good things within all spirits, right? The same as everything. And someone just in the chat just said this, I wonder how many people have discovered McMira through Motorhead. And I think that's exactly the same. These link-ups can be amazing. And that flip side with the George Clooney tequila has got me now going, I quite like tequila, if it's the right tequila. And so that's why I get frustrated when something like this happens with Beckham.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a rant. Sorry.
That was a rant. Hey, I've got a whiskey I don't like.
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh yeah, there was a question for both of us. Sorry, Nick.
It was.
20 minutes later, and I'm finished.
And I just like to say,
I forgot.
I just like to say that probably. Yeah, I just have to balance out with. I'm sure a lot of lovely people work at Haig, and they're working very hard to make something really nice.
Fuck them all.
But Diageo needed to market. Needed something cheap.
Dave, I'd like to introduce you to Lee J, who's the Haig representative.
I've got plenty of questions.
So, Nick, which one? What don't you like?
It's this. It's.
And you've actually got nearly a full bottle of it.
Yeah, I know. It was a gift to me from a friend of mine. It was a birthday gift last year, and it's a Swiss whiskey. It's a Langerton. And they're we did a review of it, and then they actually responded to us on social media a week later because they seem to copy, which is fine. They're basically saying that Switzerland don't have like a Swiss style yet, because what they're doing, they're kind of trying to copy like Scotch, and I have another little bottle down here where they called it a bourbon. So they're kind of copying styles from around the world, which is fine as long as it's nice. This one here has been finished in Chardonnay casks, and for me, the Chardonnay-ness kicks right through, and I'm not a fan of the Chardonnay-ness of the Langerton Old Deer. I haven't tried the other ones; they're probably really nice, but the Chardonnay-ness. I just realised the end of that word, what it sounds like when I say it like that. That wasn't actually meant to be a bit, but the Chardonnay-ness is a bit shit, in my opinion. But
yes, Jeff. And it's funny you should ring up. Leads me to our next question.
Yeah, I see. I kept saying it. I was like, that sounds like that. Okay, that wasn't there.
Okay, so does it taste like its own? Nick, I think you need to do a bottle share with the CEOs with that. You get rid of it.
I've got enough left. Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, yeah, it's just a bit. It's very oaky. A lot of that Chardonnay. Yes, comes through. So that's one I haven't really been fond of, which is why there's quite a lot left.
Yes.
There's not much else. I always try and find the quality in something which I like, even if it's not my thing. Yeah. But no, there's not much I didn't really like. I'm looking at my shelf to see what's left. But no, there's not really anything I've really not liked, to be honest.
Awesome.
I think we tend to judge things more on value for money, don't we? Because I think Nick's right. You can find
an experience around it.
Yeah, you can find what we found is there is a drink for every drink, right? Especially within spirits world. So a cheap blend may not be too nice on its own, but it will really work nice in a cocktail or whatever. And talking of guests that I'd love to have on, I'd love to get Dave Broom on, who's written a great book about that very thing, about the idea that the whiskey snobs often miss out on a very good drink by not trying it with coconut water or green tea, for example. And there are plenty of whiskies which open up when you add those other elements to it.
Have you tried Hague with coconut water, Dave?
No, I haven't, because no, and I'm not going to. I'm never going there again.
I think you
Fuck them.
You can get a nice litre bottle of that from Tesco for about £12 or something.
Lee J can get you a 10% discount. He's got nothing to do with Hague or the
No, we're just pulling
okay.
Yeah, so I think the value for money thing, like for example, Johnny Walker Blue is okay. It's a good whiskey. We quite enjoy it.
Johnny Walker Blue,
but it's too expensive.
You can talk about Hague.
Well, that's why I brought it up, because I knew if you're going to bully me about it, I'm gonna bring up Johnny Walker.
I'm going to slam my pencil down in disgust.
I think Nick even found nice things to say about Liars. So
Lies is actually a really refreshing drink. Yeah, I saw Frank bring it up earlier on.
Oh, shut up! Is it refreshing?
It is a don't think of it as whiskey. No. Don't think of it as whiskey.
Come to a friendly chat.
Because it's got has no oily texture. It's just kind of, it is, you have it kind of childish, and it's actually quite refreshing. But it's bloody expensive for what it is.
Dave, have you got You're Talking Rubbish little jingle you can play for where Nick says something?
As I said, don't think of it as a whiskey. Just think of it as some other weird drink.
It's the most expensive
whiskey to Liars, and I'm sure it's bloody lovely.
Yeah, we were lucky. We were gifted it.
To be honest.
Yeah, we were gifted. So
we were gifted Liars, but straight away we said.
We tried to give it a good.
It's far too expensive. It's far too. It's expensive squash. I mean, a bottle of squash is what, £2, and they're trying to charge that and say, well, you have it as part of a cocktail, so it's squash, and it's £20 a bottle. No, fuck off.
Hang on, it's £25, I think. Yeah.
Look, Jeff's in the chat. I can see him live. So, thumbs up or thumbs down for Liars, Jeff. You've tried it. Look, it's utter rubbish.
Gladiator vibes going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to whiskey then.
Yes.
Collections. What's your collections like? Like, I presume they've grown over the years you've been doing your podcast and stuff.
Yeah, I had to build shelves and everything for this.
So how many did you start off with?
I think I moved into this flat with maybe... I had a few little miniatures I brought back from New Zealand, and I think I had like 4 bottles or something like that. And I think I'm up to like the 38, 40 mark, I think.
So, that's a good growth.
Yeah.
It reminds me of my first time.
Dearie me. See, I can't edit out this smuttiness.
No. I
usually do. But no, it's gone all right. And I've got some really nice ones just from some gifted. I've kind of a good spread too. So I've made the kind of spread between, we have Scotch up here, we got international, and we've got independent bottlers here and like American stuff here. And then down here is my kind of international stuff. So we've got the red breast and like the Swiss stuff at the back, Swiss and English. And then we've got my Infinity Bottle or House Blends on the left. And
House Blends.
You keep the anus one round the back. Dave, what about you, mate? What's your collection like?
Yeah, it's quite good actually. I mean, I'm getting a new kitchen at the moment, so it's all quite difficult to have access to, and I don't have it in here like Nick does with his pretty display. But yeah, it's quite. It's grown, for sure. Big fan of. I do like a fruitier whiskey compared to a peaty whiskey, but I've got some peat stuff, for sure. But it's getting annoying because everyone keeps releasing good stuff, and it's like, oh, I'll have a bottle of that, and I don't drink on my own, so I need to have a party or two.
Yeah, you can now.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in a new kitchen.
Exactly. I'll have. Smash it with the new kitchen. Exactly. You need to have a kitchen warming party.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
October 3rd, the evening of October 3rd, Dave. What do you reckon after the whiskey show? Everyone back to yours.
Oh, mate, that is a great shout. We can all the Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah.
The Shiva got 13 right. I think I've got that, Jeff. I think I got that. Is that the one I bought? I did buy a Shivers 13, didn't I?
Yeah, you did get that, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought I did.
Cool.
That's a great fruity one. Like, if you can get that, the Scallywag.
Oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah,
Douglas Lane. I got this for like, I think it's normally 40 quid. I think it was like 28 quid in the Morrison's or something. That is a fantastic whiskey.
Yeah, good they are. Yeah,
I don't know. Independent bottler in a supermarket. It's ridiculous, and this is one of my favourite, and it's nearly gone. But
yeah. So have you had any? I'll come back to you, Nick. Means you've got your whiskey in the background. You had an epiphany whiskey yet?
Epiphany whiskey?
An epiphany whiskey.
Have you got a lisp? Are you saying have you had a piss in a whiskey?
Epiphany whiskey, one that's like blew your mind when you had it. You saw the lights. It
was when we tried Westland for the first time. Again, that was at the whiskey show. There was a tasting set called "What's in the Wood," and we weren't going to miss up on an opportunity for a title like that.
Yeah.
And we got the set, and it had 2 Japanese ones. I can't remember what the other company was, Nick. Can you remember? It was Whistle Pig. It was 2 Whistle Pigs, 2 Japanese ones whose name I can't remember or pronounce, and Westland. And I'd never heard of Westland. And there was 2. They had their American Oak and the Gariana, the 4th release of the Gariana, and which that to me, when I had that, was this is the best thing I've ever had ever. I never want to drink anything ever again. It's nectar of the gods, but it's just dead expensive. But yeah, I did when I got my 3rd self-employment grant. I did treat myself to a bottle because that's what that was for, I think.
Money well spent.
Pretty sure that's what that was for.
It was a tough year.
Yeah, Rishi said, he said spend it on whiskey from another country. But yeah, so West Coast up near Seattle distillery. They're doing single malt, and it's amazing. And the American Oak which is a third of the price, is an amazing whiskey as well. And I know Nick loves that one.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to agree with you, actually, Dave. For me, it was the Westland stuff. It was just, I don't know whether it kind of, for me, expressed the importance of doing tastings and comparing things together. You know, we did that tasting, and it was an experience. But I could really pick out, especially in American Oak, all the kind of elements which made the Black Forest Gatto. You know, it was the black cherries and the chocolate and the cream. And I was just like, oh, this is fantastic. So yeah, definitely that. But I preferred the American Oak to the Gariana. So I preferred the kind of cheaper one.
Okay.
But then as well, like in that tasting set as well, I think the one which was made in the Mizunara oak as well, that taste just stuck with me as well. So when we did a Chivas Regal tasting a few weeks ago, when they had their one which was finished, that taste came straight back to me as well. So I love, of course, Mizunara. This really accessible 200-year-old wood. Yes, I'd like more of that, please. You know, there's a reason why that's nice and why it's so hard to come by and stuff. But yeah, definitely the Western thing for me. And yeah, I mean, we've been really lucky as well. I mean, they sent us a bottle each of the Gariana 5.
Yeah,
I don't think they knew who we were. Yeah,
that isn't the one that I think is the best one ever. The 4 release of that is, but the 5 is great as well. But it's a bit peatier, and I'm not really a peaty person. But yeah, that was so. As we were sitting in his virtual tasting session, and I said, "Oh, we're a podcast or whatever," and the guy just said, "Oh, drop us an email." So I dropped them an email, and they said, "Oh." I said, we'd love to have you on if you'd come on. And the Matt Hoffman, the master distiller, was going to come on. We'll send you some samples of the next Gariana. I was like, oh, fantastic. I was away, I was camping, and Nick just sent me a message saying, did they say they were sending a sample? It's like, yeah. It's like, well, they've just sent us a full bottle. And it's like, it's 180 quid.
It's 165. Yeah, it's 165 quid. But I thought, okay, maybe they've sent us one to kind of share. But no, they sent us one each.
Yeah.
Like, good Lord.
Yeah.
So that was a stroke of luck.
Yeah.
They haven't since, mind. When the other new ones came out.
I don't think Paig's ever going to do that now.
No.
But yeah, we've...
I'd pour it away anyway.
No. So we've mentioned in the past, when we've done our reviews and we've been nosing and tasting whiskies, that every now and then we get a whiskey that we try that takes us to a certain place rather than just the notes. It actually takes us to a memory of somewhere. You know, it might not even anything to do with the whiskey necessarily, but it just takes us somewhere like on a beach or somewhere on a field or something like that. Have you had that experience when you've been drinking a whiskey yet? We'll go to Nick first with that one.
Yeah, I have. It's cheap, like American whiskey for me. Because there's a thing I brought it up actually on the show, and no one knew what the hell I was talking about. It's a thing called the well whiskey, which in America is the well whiskey is the cheap stuff. Like say I went to a bar, say at a barbecue or something, I'd ask for a whiskey and coke or Jack and Coke. They'd be like, "Is the well all right?" Yeah, sure, whatever. It's the cheap whiskey, which often would come in like 2-litre bottles, a plastic bottle. Right. You know, it's
like a house wine kind of thing.
Yes, it's like the house, but the cheapest thing possible. And it's called the well whiskey, and you'd have it in Coke.
Sorry, Nick. Sorry, can you just say? Is it the well whiskey?
The well whiskey.
Oh right, okay, sorry.
And no, because we were talking about it, you thought I was saying wells, as in bells or that kind of stuff, but it is kind of the bells equivalent over there. So when I have like really cheap whiskey now with that really kind of the ethanol kind of poking through, especially if it's like a bourbon, or it might not even be a bourbon, to be honest, just that kind of cheap stuff, that takes me right back to lining up a barbecue in Texas or something, or somewhere in the middle of absolutely nowhere, waiting for that. And to be honest, it's happy memories, so I don't really care. Even like bells takes me back to student parties, and that's a happy memory for me, you know. Bells and Coke at student party, you know, fine, you know, all good.
Can't beat it.
I don't think I was invited to that one, Nick, because I can't remember ever being bells and cokes at parties.
Really? Oh, well.
Before your time, Dave.
Awkward.
What about you, Dave? Have you had that experience?
I've had it many times, but I can't think of an example.
Right, okay. Yeah, it is crazy though, isn't it, how a drink can take you to a certain place.
Absolutely. Like Nick, there's been a couple. Nick's been really vivid with some of his memories, and I can remember. I can't remember what whiskey it was, but it was one where it reminded him of his Auntie Auntie Carol.
No, that was my brother.
He said it, didn't he?
Because he said it tasted like, it smelled like tiramisu. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, Auntie Carol's tiramisu from Christmas. Because like my mum and like all her sisters and stuff, they'd all bring a pudding to our Boxing Day party, and Auntie Carol always brought a tiramisu.
It was a stout. Was it the stout edition or just standard Jameson's? I can't remember.
It was a standard, standard. But.
And you've said a couple of times, "Oh, this smells like that furniture polish that."
Pledge,
and things like that can really take you somewhere, can't they? When you get those kind of
it reminds me of old mahogany furniture. Yeah, I get it in my parents' house when I was a kid. At the time, my house.
I think the ones that blow me away are the memories that they take you to when you haven't thought about that place for years, and you don't even know how the memory's in your head. It just kind of takes you straight back there. And I've had it many a time where it's like I haven't thought about that place probably for 20 years. Yeah. I've had a drink of a new whiskey and it's taken me instantly straight back there.
Yeah.
And I just find it, I think that's the magic of whiskey, to be honest, that kind of thing can happen.
Even a Hague. PVA glue. It takes me back to infant school. Those memories in art class.
When I have Hague in 10 years' time, I'm going to go back straight to here where Dave was telling them to go fuck themselves.
And I stand by that.
So that's my memory now. That's not going anywhere. So you must have got better at nosing and tasting whiskey in your time there. Have you seen a progression yourselves doing that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I got better and then kind of went down, and now I've leveled off a bit. Right. Because I was really concentrating, especially at the beginning, trying to get. I don't know. I think because I've realised it doesn't matter as much as I thought it did. Yeah. It's more whether I like the whiskey and maybe a couple of notes which really poke out. Yeah. But I've kind of tried to relax with it because I was getting stressed with it. Yeah, not being so Chardonnay-y. But it's kind of leveled off a bit. But when things do poke out, then they
Stop it, Dave. Stop it.
See what I'm working with.
I don't know how you get through a podcast, to be honest. He's lost it now. Carry on.
Chardonnay is going to live with me for a long time.
We need to coin this carry on whiskey.
Yes, Phil.
But I'm trying to get better at it. But I did realise it's not the be all and end all of it. It's whether I like it and the certain things that pop out for sure.
Just enjoying it. That's the main part. Just enjoying it.
I think as well, where you're tasting it makes a massive difference as well. Whether you're tasting in here, there's going to be a bit different. You go to, Bimba, for example, when you're tasting it, you can just smell the thing fermenting over there. So that's going to make that's why apparently like foreign wine. If you have a nice wine, say I'm just picking Portugal, on the beach, and you're like, this wine's really nice, I'm going to take a couple of bottles home with me. Never tastes as nice apparently because you've got the actual smells and the taste of the place around you, which then makes everything, all adds to the experience. Apparently when you get it home, it tastes like rubbish. So it matters where you are as well.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And like you say, who you with friends. I mean, like we had some of the CEOs around ours recently, and it's one of the first times I've probably had a big group of people in the house who all appreciate whiskey. I'm usually trying to get people to enjoy it, but it was so nice just to be able to like talk whiskey, drink it, and share it. It was just, for me, that was better than the whiskey itself, to be honest. Just the people who really know. And it's okay, they drank everything I've got, but other than that,
you gave them the cheap stuff later on, right?
Except the Hague, I'm not surprised.
Nobody touched the Johnny Walker.
Yeah, I left that out. I literally put on it, help yourself.
In the centre of the
and
table.
I've still got, I think there's more in the bottle now than when I left it. Someone brought it in my bottle. So that's pretty much all of the whiskey questions. But you got another song, Dave? I think you said you've got a couple of songs for us.
Well, I've got all the songs under the sun for you if you want.
Good. We'll play another one, and then we've got some of our fun questions to ask you, what we ask all of our. And then we've got a couple of questions in the chat, which we'll bring to you as well, that people have posted.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Right,
I'll hand it over to you.
Someone in the chat said that this other song of mine they really like, so I'm going to play this. It's, as a result of Whisky and Things. Oh, there's the reverb back. That's probably a bit too much of that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of reverb there.
That's probably better.
Playing in the cathedral this evening.
Reverb! Yeah, so I went to Nashville and made an album, and this was album number 2. And I wanted, yes, it's you, Alan, that said it. I wanted to have another whiskey song. And so I wrote this album in the space of about 2 weeks. I raised £20,000 to go to Nashville and make an album over the course of a year, and then realised, oh God, I'm going next month. I haven't got any songs. So I wrote the album, and then realised I didn't have a love song. And I lived with my girlfriend at the time. I was like, this is going to get me in trouble.
Was it not about her?
No, this wasn't written at the time. I was like, Danny, I said to my friend Danny, I was like, I need to write a love song. I've got this kind of riff. Can we do it? And we got this out. But actually, when you then hear it, you can see why we split up a few months later. Anyway, it happens. It's called Whisky and Daffodils. I wonder if one day the bank will be kind and give us a chance to buy your peace of mind. Whether they will or they won't, it's alright. Will we have neighbors who won't mind the noise? Our nieces and nephews mind sharing their toys? Whether they will or they won't, it's alright. It's frustrating, you say you can't take it, how I don't think too far ahead. You tell me to stop it when I change the topic. Some things are best left unsaid. But when our best made plans don't work, we'll be alright. Will we keep candles on the windowsill beside all my whiskey and your daffodils? I've never kept my whiskey on the windowsill. It just rhymed, alright? Sometimes you have to take artistic license with a lyric. It doesn't live by the windowsill. I'm not that much of a heathen. Whether we will or we won't, it's alright. Will there be room to keep my telescope? We can count all the stars through our rooftop window. Whether we will or we won't, it's alright. I think it's strange that you think I'll change, but I never want to grow up. You say you hate it, how I give or take it, taking each day as it comes. But when our best made plans don't work, we'll be alright. 'Cause while the daydreaming, life comes a stealing the memories that we could have made. Next thing you know, we'll be all grey and old. But when our best made plans don't work, we'll be alright. We'll be alright. We'll be alright. We'll be alright. Why, thank you.
Well done, matey.
Well the pie there. But...
You got there in the end, Nicholas, and that's all that matters.
No, I was looking up stuff for a question I saw in the chat for later. But, I was late. I wasn't watching. I wasn't paying attention, Dave. I was listening. Beautiful performance.
That's all that matters. Okay, so we got a couple of questions that are in the chat. So Jeff, is he around still? I know. Jeff, do you want to come in and ask your question, my friend?
I'm not allowed to have any questions from Jeff. Sorry, I thought I put that in the contract before.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, mate. I forgot you put that in.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the question was.
Well, you're not taking any notice. It was.
Was that the one from way back?
Yeah. What's your favourite American Idiot?
Yeah. What's the favourite track to play off? You know, when you did American Idiot. From that.
Come on, they're all awful.
No, it's a great album.
It's a rubbish album. It's the worst Green Day album ever.
I invited Dave along to the press night when I first did it.
Nick was in American Idiot the musical playing bass.
Yeah, I play bass in that. I invite Dave along, and of course everyone dressed up because it was the gala night. Dave came in shorts and a vest top, and looking like Dave.
It was a punk rock musical, and I got told off for not dressing up in a suit. It's not very punk rock, and that's my whole issue with that whole musical. You got a load of people who don't understand punk, Nick being the exception to the rule, jumping around on stage going, yeah. Fuck off. Musical theatre is great. Punk rock is great. The two combined, awful. Worst thing ever. Don't do it.
Nick.
Jesus of Suburbia. Oh,
Nick.
we'll answer that one.
There you go.
Jesus
Nick.
of Suburbia. It's a nice 15-minute ditty.
Can I just ask you this, Nick? When Dave doesn't like something, he really doesn't like it, does he?
He doesn't like it. Yeah.
I'm the opinionated one.
There's no grey area with Dave. I'll tell you.
We had a question from Paul as well earlier on. If he wants to come in and ask it.
Ask him. Bearded one.
Here he comes. Easy.
Hiya, guys.
Hey, man.
As regards particularly Scotch whisky, what's your favourite maturation stroke finish? What do you prefer?
That's what I was looking up, and I actually came up with my favourite as being an Irish whiskey, which is unfortunate. Which was the cask mate, the stout Jameson's, which is really good. So I think the stout works really well with the Irish, shortbreadiness. As for Scotch, though, I don't. That's what I was trying to look up, to be honest. I've always found red wine a bit weird. A bit like I'm not into the tanniness of the red wine finish, but I think a good sherry at the end of the day, you can't go wrong with that. The fruitiness and all that kind of stuff. If it's done well, which it usually is. Let's face it. Again, there's a whiskey for everyone, but yeah, there's like Chardonnay. But I don't know. Scotch might do it well, but the Swiss didn't. But there we go.
We had a question from Dave. I don't know if he's still here. He wanted to know if you do weddings, Dave.
Do.
Yeah.
You do. Okay.
That's what I was doing last night.
We did one together. Yeah, me too, actually. Yeah, we did one last week, didn't we? Or a couple of weeks ago.
We did do one last week.
Yeah. And you do like doing weddings, yeah? Because we know what you like when you don't like things.
She's on stage shouting.
Sure, he'll let you know.
Pull out a cake!
Yeah. How dare you have me on? Do you not know who I am? Okay, so we'll go to our question.
Funny story. I don't like weddings. I like playing. I don't mind doing a gig at a wedding.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference. I hate being a guest at a wedding. I don't mind working them.
Yeah. So he's in the message.
It's because I'm being paid, right? If I'm being paid, I'll do it, right?
Dave said it's going to be a whiskey-based wedding, so the more whiskey songs, the better.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, Dave, you need to get in touch with Dave needs to get in touch with Dave and sort this wedding out, don't they? The two Daves need to get together.
A whiskey-based wedding, I might enjoy.
Yes, I would imagine you would. Do you get better the more drunk you get, or is you,
absolutely not? Absolutely not. You think you're better, but in reality, you're not. The thing about, particularly when you're singing when you've had a few beers, you just end up shouting. You're not really singing anymore, and it absolutely wrecks your voice. But
that's where punk rock comes in.
Well, that's the question. You see, this is one of the things that's always I've always been interested in. Aerosmith, for instance, like that with the Toxic Twins or something like that. How the hell do that? They used to run off stage and do a line of coke off one of the speakers and come back on and perform. How the hell do you do that? And I know some like Guns N' Roses used to chug like a bottle of Jack Daniels while they're on stage and stuff. It's like, how the hell do you play your instruments and sing when you're like that? Like,
some people are better at it than others, and it depends what instrument you're playing as well. You can get away with a lot more if you're playing guitar or singing, I think, because it's it doesn't have to be as locked in as, say, drums or bass. I can't play after a couple, I think like 2 drinks, and that's my limit for when I want to play bass, because it's just not tight anymore. It's just away. Guitar's a bit more free, you got a bit more, you can be a bit more, I don't know, I'm going to use the word floaty. And singing as well, you can elaborate a bit more. But when you're in the rhythm section, you've got to be locked in. But like loads of bands, I think certain narcotics may help with that as well, or you just play the song quicker.
Hurry off the stage so quick.
I was talking to someone in an orchestra, and the low brass players, the guys that play trombone, tuba, and so on and so forth. There's quite a lot of stuff that they do that orchestras work. They may not have too much to do. They just turn up and because it's all string heavy and that kind of stuff, and they have, it gets to the big bit and they have to blast out a few notes. So apparently they would turn up, look at what the music was, and judge the piece of music based on how many pints they could have and still do a good job. This one's easy. This is an 8-pinter. This one's really hard. This one's
That's how I found my limit, Dave. Because when I was doing theatre stuff, and I'd be in the pit, so I doing like Thoroughly Modern Millie or Producers or like Summer Holiday. The brass players were the ones who would neck it, and they would get absolutely smashed because apparently it relaxes them, relaxes their lips and relaxes them and stuff. But that's how I find my limit, because once we went and did sound check, and then we went to the pub, and I too much. And I remember sitting down thinking, okay, I really got to concentrate on this. But for them, they're in the pocket. They're absolutely, because they needed to relax, and that's what happens with the brass section. But don't try and keep up with them. Good Lord.
You wouldn't have thought the brass section would be the party.
The rowdy ones.
Oh, they are. Oh, they're the absolute worst. Absolute worst.
Yeah, Nicky's
right. Yeah.
Nicky used to live with a trumpet player, so he could definitely drink.
Yeah. Okay. So here's our fun questions, and I think fun anyway. Money and time are no object. Which distillery would you visit?
I would go. I'm a big fan of the Whiskey Tribe channel in Texas. So I'd go over to, I think it's called, I want to say it's called something Barrel, but their bar's called the Fang and Feather, and it's in the middle of, just outside Austin. What's the, Crowded Barrel. That's it, Crowded Barrel. I'd love to go over and see that, and as well go do the whole Texas Whiskey Trail stuff. And I'd love to study there as well. The Wizard Academy, which is the school they run there. It's like $4,000 for a course or something. So that would be my thing. And of course, come out as a sommelier with a big medallion and all that kind of stuff. That's my money no object. And then
awesome.
Definitely.
Cool. What about you, Dave?
Don't really know.
No. We can just go with Nick, no?
I mean, I'd love that. I mean, any kind of tour across America, I'm all for. I love road trips across America, always the best. So, if we could combine a few, I mean,
Japan would be fun.
I was about to say that. I was just about to say it'd be really interesting to go to a couple of Japanese ones just to see what they're like. But bear in mind they take all their processes from Scotch. Might not be.
But now they're not allowed. Well, if they want to call it Japanese, they won't be able to take their Scotch from Scotch, as it were. So there's some change happening over there.
Okay. Well, this is the one question that always usually gets people going. Tell us one thing about yourselves that we might not know.
Can we answer for each other?
Go on, then.
That's a slippery slope.
You go first, Nick.
I'm not too sure we want to know that one. I think someone's. I think the worst one we've had was someone was like, "I've got a third nipple." I think that was someone, wasn't it? I think so. You can't be any worse. No.
Oh, you can. But,
I don't know. I mean, you guys might not know that Dave doesn't wear shoes anywhere if he doesn't really have to. Like
unless,
walk into the street. I mean, we've been thrown out of the pub down the road for not wearing shoes, and he was also wearing his pajamas as well. No. I see. I'm going to stand by this. Here we go.
There's nothing wrong with that because I don't wear. I don't wear those pajamas to bed. I put them on because they're comfortable trousers, and walked into the pub and got told I couldn't come in wearing those trousers.
Yeah.
Like
loungewear rather than pajamas.
There was a shoes thing, Dave. It was a shoes thing. I think they had an issue with.
Yeah, I wasn't wearing any shoes. But...
And the teddy bear, I think.
And the sleeping bag, and the pillow, and the inflatable mattress.
And I was in Birmingham the other day, Dave. I was near that club where it was a gay club, and they wouldn't let Dave in with shorts on. But then men were walking in with skirts on, but they had like a dress code. Which was whatever, but then Dave decided to then put his hoodie onto his legs and pretend they were trousers.
Well, they weren't. Like my legs were covered. My legs were covered right the way down. My sleeves covered my legs, right, and they still wouldn't let me in. I was like, "But my legs are covered. What's your issue? What is your?"
It was principle by this point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You didn't care. You didn't really want to go in.
It was
to get in.
Yeah. And the bar was empty. The bar, it was like, look, what's the issue? There's no one here.
The police came.
Oh, no, they threatened it. They didn't do it.
I thought they turned up.
No.
They didn't turn up. Oh, okay. Well, I was drunk by that point because I went in.
Yeah.
Good
mate there. Yeah, good mate. Didn't say, let's go somewhere else then because one of us didn't get in. No, that's why, they like to blame me for these things.
Well, I know how much you like to, you like to fight a battle.
There it is. So we'll have
that was your night out.
We'll go somewhere where Dave can have an argument and we don't have to put up with him. Yeah. So we'll go in and have a few beers. And we'll just leave him at the door having an argument. Brilliant.
Anyway, that's something you need to know about Dave.
Now we know that Nick hasn't got your back, Dave. Tell us something about Nick that we don't know.
I've always got his back. I don't know he loves an argument. Or likes to win.
You don't like an argument, Nick. That could be the thing we don't know about. Yeah,
anyway, that's all for tonight. Thanks for coming, everyone. Every Wednesday, 5 a.m.
Yeah. So we know you like music and whiskey. So any other hobbies?
I'm a photographer and I make videos, but photography is it was a hobby. I haven't done it for a hobby for a long time, to be honest. It turned into a job like all my other hobbies, which is a good thing. I'm not complaining, but it's one of those things where I don't know, you kind of don't know, when your hobbies become your job, you kind of not like them as much, or you lose the passion a little bit. But no, photography for me, and I've been lucky enough to photograph some great gigs and touring around. I basically used to take my camera on tour, and I used to photograph some great bands and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, photography for me. But
where could we go to see the pictures, Nick, or are they just personal kind of things? Or
NickKentPhotography.com. That's got all my stuff on there. So some nice pictures, great pictures of Dave on there as well. I think Dave used to hire me for 80 quid to shoot.
See, I get loads of abuse for this. I did this the first few times. Right?
I wasn't giving you abuse, Dave. I never given you abuse.
Looks like Anthony and Nicky frozen for anyone else. Oh.
Glad that's not just me. I thought it was just me again.
Still go.
No,
you're all right here for us.
Okay, you think you're coming back now?
Can you hear us, Jeff?
Yeah, now you can. Yeah,
you're back.
Are.
You're back.
Okay, cool. So, Dave, what about you? Any other hobbies?
Yeah, space flight, but we kind of touched on that earlier.
Yeah, we have. How did you get into that? I mean,
Since I was a kid.
Just a kid thing, and it's got to followed through.
Absolutely. See, I remember vividly my mum talking about. I would have been 5 or 6. I remember her talking about the first moon landing and the Kennedy brothers, and it just planted a seed somewhere, and I was obsessed with it. Always have been. So I wanted to be an astronaut. I was that kid at school that wanted to be an astronaut until. So yeah, when we started secondary school, there was the careers officer, and we had a meeting with him once a year. I don't really know what the purpose of that meeting was because no one ever got anything out of it. But anyway, you'd come in, you'd go in there, you'd leave with some sheets of paper that said roughly what you needed to do or whatever. So what do you want to do? Astronaut, right? And he'd always tell me off, oh, come on, be serious here. I was like, I am being serious. I want to be an astronaut, blah, blah, blah. And I got to I was 17 when I went in there. Or I'd found out I couldn't be an astronaut because my left eye was too bad. Nowadays, not so much of a problem, but I can't see much out my left eye. So finally, someone told me a reason why being an astronaut probably wouldn't happen for me. So then the next meeting I went in and he said, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be a guitar player. And he said, he shut me out straight away. He's like, oh, God. So,
you can't win them all, can you?
Can't win them all. I love rugby as well. I'd love to be playing rugby more if I could, but make a living with using my fingers, ladies.
Yeah,
same. Unfortunately, cricket and rugby. My dad told me when I went to university. Unfortunately, you can't do them. Can't join us the university teams. Oh, okay.
I say, I still play rugby a lot, and as soon as we started uni, we kind of wanted to maybe join the uni rugby teams and stuff. But you stub a finger, then there's no playing for months. So that was it.
Understand that. Some hot news coming in on the chat as well. Dave has just said that Whisky and Daffodils has now made the shortlist for their first dance at the wedding.
Fantastic!
There you go.
Absolutely fantastic. All the PRS, cheers.
We're coming up to an hour and a half nearly, guys. So we got one final question for you, which is the most important question of the night. And people probably would know what this is going to be. But I'm going to come to both of you now. Think about this seriously. Yeah?
We ask everybody.
Is Die Hard a Christmas film?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There you go. Because we've got a couple of CEOs that genuinely don't think it is.
No, and it's my favourite Christmas film.
There you go. And this is recorded as well, so we can't go. And these guys are famous, so they've got to be right.
Famous?
Yippee-ki-yay.
With a voice like that, mate.
Yeah.
Guys, it has been a pleasure.
It has been so fun. Thank you very much for having us on.
Thank you so much. It's gone so quick.
So if you send the audio files over to Nick and he'll edit it for you.
Edit us out.
He just loves editing. He just loves it.
I love sitting in my chair over there. Yeah.
I do, to be honest. It's one of my favourite things to do. So now this will stay as is. We don't cut or snip anything.
Oh, such a shame.
Chardonnayness.
Yeah.
We're bringing
Oh dear.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. We'll let you get off and carry on with your night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you again.
Thank you
for
coming.
joining us. Thank you for the music.
Thank you for the music.
Thank you so much. It's our first musical, live musical chat, shall we say. So, and if you're happy to come back on again in the future, we'd love to have you.
Absolutely.
Do Christmas.
It's been great.
We do Christmas parties. Do I have my own Christmas song? I don't have my own Christmas song, but I do all the Christmas songs.
Awesome. So maybe we get you one for our Christmas special and get you to do a song for us, if you don't mind.
No, I can do all of the Christmas songs. All of them.
Awesome. All of them.
Every single one.
Michael Bublé and everything.
Oh, yeah, why not? Bit boobs.
Oh,
Mickey
awesome.
Bubble.
Brilliant. Right, guys, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you again soon. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
See you later, guys.
See ya.
Bye.